Raymond Fernandez was born in Hawaii in 1914 to Spanish parents, but his childhood was marked by instability. His family relocated to Connecticut when he was young, and Raymond really struggled to fit in, facing frequent bullying and hardship. After high school, he traveled to Spain, joined the Merchant Marines, and eventually enlisted in the British Intelligence Service during World War II. A head injury sustained during the war would later be cited as a turning point in his life. Family members claimed it changed his personality, making him more impulsive and, erratic. Meanwhile, Martha Beck was born in 1920 in Florida. Her early life was also troubled. She was overweight as a child and reportedly endured ridicule and abuse. Martha left home as a teenager and tried to build a life for herself, working as a nurse and later in a mortuary. She married twice, but both marriages ended quickly, leaving her a single mother of two. Despite her difficulties, Martha was desperate for love and affection. In 1947, these two lost souls crossed paths in the most unlikely of places, a Lonely Hearts correspondence column. Raymond had begun answering ads in these columns, seeking vulnerable women he could charm and swindle. Martha, searching for connection and hope, responded to one of his letters. Their meeting was intense, marked by both affection and dependency. Raymond confessed to Martha that he supported himself by scamming lonely women, and to his surprise, Martha not only accepted this revelation, she wanted to join him. For the first time, both felt they had someone who understood and accepted their darkest sides. With their partnership forged, the stage was set for a string of crimes that would soon shock the country. The pair, now bound by both love and desperation, began to plot their future together, one that would lead them down a deadly path, targeting women who, like Martha herself, were searching for affection in the classified columns of the Lonely Hearts ads. With their dark alliance solidified, Raymond Fernandez and Martha Beck set their scheme in motion. Martha would answer Lonely Hearts ads placed by women hoping to find companionship, pretending to be Raymond's sister to ease suspicion. Once a victim was lured in, Raymond would sweep her off her feet, promising love, marriage, and a new life. For many, it was a dream come true, until the truth was revealed. The couple's first foray into this con began with a widow named Jane Thompson. She had posted an ad seeking a partner and was soon charmed by Raymond's letters and attention. After a whirlwind correspondence, Raymond visited Jane at her home, bringing Martha along under the guise of his protective sibling. The relationship escalated quickly, and Jane was convinced Raymond was the answer to her loneliness. But behind the scenes, Martha watched with growing jealousy. She resented any woman who threatened her claim on Raymond's affection. Shortly after their arrival, Jane fell mysteriously ill. She died not long after, with the death listed as a heart attack. Authorities at the time thought little of it, and Raymond inherited her modest estate. The couple moved on, emboldened by the ease with which they had deceived and disposed of their first victim. The duo soon escalated their efforts. Using the same Lonely Hearts columns, they scoured for vulnerable women. Each new victim was seduced by Raymond's charm and promises, only to be manipulated and swindled out of money, jewelry, and any assets they possessed. Martha's jealousy continued to intensify, creating tension and violence in the aftermath of each encounter. Together, Raymond and Martha left a trail of broken hearts and shattered lives as they traveled from state to state. Their routine was always the same: find an ad, start a correspondence, arrange a meeting, and carry out their scheme. Few suspected the smiling couple of such dark intentions, and for a while, they operated in the shadows, unchallenged. But with every new con, their confidence grew, and so did their recklessness. Their acts would soon catch the attention of authorities, especially as their crimes grew bolder and more brazen, and the line between theft and murder began to blur. As Raymond Fernandez and Martha Beck continued their journey, the boundaries of their crimes dissolved completely. What had started as a scheme of deception now slid into violence, and the couple became emboldened with each new success. Their next high-profile victim was Delphine Downing, a young widow living in Grand Rapids, Michigan, with her 2-year-old daughter, Raynell. Delphine, like so many others, had placed her hopes in the Lonely Hearts column and was charmed by Raymond's letters. When Raymond and Martha arrived, Delphine welcomed them into her home, convinced she'd found a new future for herself and her little girl. But the stay quickly turned tense. Martha was increasingly possessive and grew frustrated by Delphine's presence and the child's constant crying. When Delphine voiced doubts about the relationship, an argument broke out. Martha, unable to contain her rage, struck Delphine. Fearing Delphine would go to the police, Raymond gave the widow sleeping pills, hoping to calm her. The following day, when Delphine was still alive but groggy, Martha lost control and took drastic action. The horror did not end there. With Delphine gone, Raynell became another problem for the couple. According to police records, the child was ultimately drowned by Martha in the basement, coldly eliminating the last witness. The bodies were hidden in the house, but their absence did not go unnoticed for long. It was this double tragedy that finally drew the attention of neighbors and law enforcement. Suspicious of Delphine's sudden disappearance and the drawn blinds at her house, neighbors called the police. When officers arrived and questioned Raymond and Martha, their lies quickly unraveled. The truth about the missing mother and child shocked the quiet community, but for Raymond and Martha, it was just one more town to leave behind. Yet, the Downing case marked a turning point. The violence was escalating, and authorities in several states were beginning to connect the dots between missing women, financial fraud, and a mysterious couple traveling under a string of false identities. Their spree was far from over, but the net was starting to close in. News of the Downing murders rippled through the Midwest, and Raymond Fernandez and Martha Beck felt the pressure mounting as law enforcement pieced together their trail. They fled Michigan, relying on new names and fake backstories, but the freedom they once enjoyed was eroding fast. Despite the danger, the pair continued to hunt for their next victims using the same pattern. They traveled to New York and then down the East Coast, answering more Lonely Hearts ads. At each stop, they found women desperate for companionship. Their ability to adapt and blend in made them difficult to track, but behind closed doors, the dynamic between Raymond and Martha grew more unstable. Their next victim, Janet Fay, was a devout Catholic from Albany, New York. She had been swept up by Raymond's charm and promises of marriage. Janet, careful but hopeful, brought the couple into her life after an exchange of loving letters. However, when she grew suspicious of Martha's constant presence and started to question Raymond's intentions, the situation quickly unraveled. An argument erupted late one night after Janet confronted Raymond about inconsistencies in his story. Enraged and threatened by the possibility of exposure, Martha struck Janet with a heavy object. The assault proved fatal. Panicked, the couple hid her body in a trunk and rented a garage in Queens where they concealed it in a makeshift grave. Janet's sudden disappearance did not go unnoticed. Her family, aware of her plans to meet Raymond, raised the alarm with local police. The couple, now suspects in multiple disappearances, became the subject of a multi-state manhunt. With law enforcement closing in and the pressure mounting, Raymond and Martha found themselves increasingly desperate. Their crimes, once shrouded in secrecy, were now the focus of newspapers and radio broadcasts. The pair grew reckless as they moved from place to place, the bond that had once made them so formidable now fraying under fear and paranoia. It was only a matter of time before their past caught up with them. Raymond Fernandez and Martha Beck were running out of places to hide. Their faces were appearing in newspapers across the country, and the investigation into Janet Fay's disappearance was gaining momentum. Detectives tracing Janet's last correspondence and the alias used by Raymond finally identified the couple's whereabouts in Michigan. Police moved in on a modest boarding house in Grand Rapids. Martha and Raymond, exhausted and suspicious, were quickly arrested without incident. Inside their rooms, authorities found evidence tying them to their victims: letters, personal effects, and traces of their aliases. Under questioning, both initially denied involvement, but as detectives laid out the overwhelming evidence, their stories began to shift. It was Martha who broke first. Over several interviews, she began to confess, first to her role in Janet Fay's death, and then to the crimes involving Delphine Downing and her daughter. Raymond, too, realizing there was no way out, confessed to his part in the killings and fraud. The confession stunned the nation. The Lonely Hearts Killers, as newspapers now called them, had left a trail of victims from New York to Michigan, exploiting the hopes and loneliness of women searching for love after the war. The couple was extradited to New York to face charges for Janet Fay's murder, as the evidence there was most substantial. The trial drew national attention, with every detail of the case dissected by the press. Martha and Raymond appeared side by side in the courtroom, their once passionate partnership now strained and distant. The prosecution presented a mountain of evidence: personal letters, eyewitness accounts, and the couple's own confessions. Both defense teams attempted to argue insanity and diminished capacity, pointing to their troubled backgrounds and unstable relationship, but the jury was unconvinced. On August 22, 1949, both Raymond Fernandez and Martha Beck were convicted of first-degree murder. The judge, unmoved by their pleas, sentenced both to death. Their fate was sealed, but their story and the horror they unleashed through the Lonely Hearts ads would linger in American memory for decades to come.